What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Listen, tonight is the last chance you've got to register to vote. You've got till 11:59. A few things I want to point out before we get into why I'm encouraging you to register to vote is that there is a way to register for those of you who are concerned, which is understandable. There's a way to register that you tick the right box and they won't be able to share your data. So check that out on the site. I did post the information about it on my Twitter a few days ago as well, because understandably a lot of people are nervous about electoral register. We've all been there, fam, bailiffs and all that. I've never voted before. I'm not a supporter of the Labour Party. Why do I think it's important to vote in this election? I've written a whole article about it that you can read, and I don't want to make this a long video, but I'll explain some basic points. The Labour Party has a horrible imperialist record, which is why I've never voted for them before, long before Tony Blair took office. But now we have a leader of the Labour Party who voted against the war in Iraq, who voted against NATO's intervention in Libya, who has a long record of campaigning for human rights issues. I'm not going to romanticize the guy or sing his praises. He's a politician like everyone else, but I believe, observing from afar, talking to people in the community, remember I'm a North London boy, observing his actions over the course of a few decades, that we have a fundamentally decent, regular dude, which is abnormal for the British political elite. It's not a choice between Theresa May and the Buddha, so people posting criticisms of Jeremy Corbyn, fine, he's a human being. There are valid criticisms to be had. But the fact is, it's a choice between a woman who's made it clear she would incinerate a few 100,000 people in a heartbeat, a party that makes it openly clear they want to get rid of the NHS. They want to privatise it. You want to know what privatised healthcare looks like? Just go online and talk to some Americans. A party that have made it clear they're going to back anything Donald Trump does, no matter how irrational. A party that wants to get rid of free school meals for all but basically children that are almost starving. A party that are happy with a situation in which nurses are going to food banks, etc., etc., etc. So there is a real difference in choice. And how you know this is, unlike with Brexit, where the British political elite were divided, you had the Murdoch press on one side, Tony Blair on another side. The entire established British political elite, the entire corporate press, all of the traditional outlets, even the state media, have been so clearly biased against Corbyn. That should tell you something very, very clear. I'm not naive. I know that the odds are still with the Tories. I know that there's an uphill struggle to climb, but just know that 30% of 18 to 24-year-olds are not yet registered to vote. So it's a big, big difference. We're talking about millions of people that can, before midnight tonight, register to vote and significantly affect this election. But let this also be the basis from which you organise. So it is an uphill struggle. There is still a challenge to be had. I'm going to post a link to tactical voting below, because of course you can vote tactically depending on what seat you're in to get the Tories out. But things are peak already, and they're only going to get worse. And I think for the first time in my adult life, within the limits of mainstream British politics, we actually have a genuine option. We have, let's not overstate the case, it's a social democratic option on a European model. The mainstream media hoping if they say Comrade Corbyn enough times that you'll not do any reading and you'll believe it really is like some kind of communist manifesto, which it absolutely is not. It's not a revolutionary socialist anti-imperialist manifesto. They're still going to spend money on NATO. They're still going to keep Trident. There's compromises some of us would rather have not seen. I'm under no illusions about what I'm voting for, but I really think we cannot afford to sit on the fence in this particular election. Post-Brexit, in the world of Donald Trump, things are more urgent than ever. Within the mainstream, we actually have a thorn in the side of the establishment, a choice, a pro-people choice. It would be very, very dangerous and very, very naive and very, very ridiculous of me, especially someone who's now in a relatively comfortable position, to sit on the fence and say, oh, it doesn't matter, they're all the same, forget about it, don't worry. I could have done that. It would have been very easy. I don't want egg on my face. I don't want to I don't want to endorse a politician. But in this particular election, it really is urgent. It really is important. However outside the chances are, whatever the polls are saying, however difficult things are, if you know people that depend on the NHS, if you know people that depend on the welfare state, as I did growing up, so it's not all just, about demonizing poor people. If you know people that have a bone of compassion in their body, that care about issues like war, etc., 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 talk to them today, before midnight. Get them out there, get them to register to vote. And even if they're not Labour supporters like me, which I'll say again, I'm not, in this particular election, they either need to vote Labour or they need to vote tactically to get the Tories out. Big up.